Hello everyone, this is me again with more Let's Play Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time and talking about old stuff that I wrote a long time ago. And I guess I'll pick up where we left off and start talking about Kapora Gabora and what he does in the movie version of Legend of Zelda that I wrote, and the answer is not very much. He just kind of shows up briefly, and he doesn't show up at this point. So I'm going to go ahead and just not talk about him right now. I'll go ahead and just say briefly before he flies away that when he does show up later, he does not speak. He's not a talking owl. He definitely didn't want him showing up right after this big emotional moment with, Saria and everything, and it won't break the mood there. But basically, once Link comes out into Hyrule Field, he's very surprised to find that he does not die. Although he, feels like maybe he'll die when the sun goes down, maybe he'll die when the sun rises the next day. He keeps having these, apprehensions, like it's going to happen at some point, but it doesn't, so he sort of forgets about it over time. But what does happen is he does not do what I am currently doing, which is rolling all the way to Hyrule Castle, wanting desperately for the sun not to set before I get there. Have the drawbridge go up, and also, even if I barely made it on the drawbridge, but you still hear the wolf howl, you have to enter Hyrule Castle at night, and that's not any fun. So, what does happen is Link starts to walk there, and he's, beset on by wild dogs at night and that sort of thing, and he's picked up by a traveling wagon that is taking, milk and, chickens and, other things that you might find on a ranch to Hyrule Castletown, because it is in fact Malon and her father heading there, and they pick him up, and is there that he's kind of introduced to, this other girl, and everything, and he's kind of all shy and sheepish, and I have to admit that I'm biased toward Malon and gave her many more appearances in the movie than most of the other characters that were minor like Malon, because I liked her a lot, and I thought she was interesting, and I always thought, if I were to ship anything, although really I ship, I guess, that Link doesn't have a relationship with any of the girls, obviously, but if I were to ship, I would like to ship, Link and Malon anyway. So, they pick him up and they take him to Hyrule Castletown. And it's this point that he tells her what he's doing. He's trying to meet Princess Zelda, and she finds this very exciting and intriguing, and kind of in a rush, because this is a shorter Let's Play. I know it doesn't last that long, but one of the things that happens in their travels is that he, like I said, he has his ocarina from Saria, and he does know how to play it, kind of. That's covered also in that introductory scene I told you about with the world-building stuff, at the very beginning, where she's kind of taught him how to play it a little bit, and he can play, Saria's song. He does not learn that later, he knows it from the beginning of the story. And I don't, list a certain amount of songs that he knows, and they're not all going to be the, Song of Storms, but he'll play something akin to Saria's song, and so Malon's, well, that's really pretty, can you learn this one, and she, hums or whatever, and that's just sort of how they pass the time, and it's not a big long scene, it's just sort of the transition into the wagon rolling away up to Hyrule Castletown, and but the whole point of it is that they're carrying Epona in the wagon, and because Epona is a big deal later on, that's sort of this thing where the scene where he befriends her, because Epona, like the game, does not like Link at first. In fact, he's a little terrified. There's quite a bit of, when I went back and looked through it, I actually did get a chance to look through the script, which was good, because this was all a big blank in my memory until I went back and looked at it. Because when he finally does get to befriend Epona, that's going to be important for later, but what I was going to say was there's a lot of animal humor in the script. I didn't realize how much, animal jokes and, them being afraid of animals or animals causing trouble for them, and the reason I say that is not just Epona, but also, when sneaking into Hyrule Castletown, this is another instance where Link is not alone. He's going to be alone at some points in the future, but when he went into the Deku Tree, he was with Saria, and this time, he's with Malon, and also these two jokers that they pick up in, the guys I stopped to talk to, the twins, and one's wearing red, one's wearing blue, and because they look kind of creepy with the hairstyle and the mustache, I didn't, have them looking like that. I just kind of had them looking like normal teenagers. But they're, bored. They don't have anything better to do, and they know about the grate, which you had talked to. It's like, well, yeah, we can help you get in, because they had to figure out about that grate somehow, and just having them be characters that they hear that from and then go do it was cheap. So I was like, well, good, we make them characters, these two goofballs. So, and I believe they do have names, but I don't remember what those names are. So, those three sneak into the castle, and they show him where the places that he can sneak in. And it's not a very long sequence, but like I said, since I was going to reuse all those characters in the future, Malon and the two boys, although I had considered cutting that because I wasn't sure if it was going to be a little too humorous, but those two guys come back a couple times to give us some villains later, but I wondered if it was going to be a little too cheesy or a little too funny for kind of a serious movie, so I wasn't sure if I should keep them in there, but I will tell you what their role is later. It's a sort of as pseudo-villains, but when we first meet them, they're just helping Link sneak into the castle. And coming back to the thing about there being a lot of animal humor, Malon has to carry a chicken with her because right before, her dad walked off to, start this market thing, she was responsible for looking after some of the stuff. And most of it was just milk and, handcrafts or whatever, I don't know, stuff that they sell from the ranch. I wasn't real specific, but stuff they sell from the ranch that's inanimate that she can kind of like hide somewhere while she goes off, and she can't leave the chicken. There's a chicken she has to look after, and so their big problem sneaking into the castle, it's not that hard, just like in the game, the guards are kind of dumb, and these are little slippery kids who know their way in and around these kind of places, but that chicken keeps causing them trouble, and so that's, again, I'm trying to, balance the lighthearted thing with the more serious content of Legend of Zelda, and besides that, the first film out of the three, like I said, it's a trilogy. The first film out of the three is going to be the silliest of them. It's going to have the most opportunity for lighthearted stuff. So, yeah, that chicken. Her father is not sleeping and blocking the entrance here, however. That wasn't really a factor. But I was like, I want to keep that chicken in there. So, yeah, that chicken follows him so much so that even when they get up to Hyrule Castle and he goes in, it goes in with him. And it continues to cause trouble as he's trying to sneak across the courtyard. Now, how does he get it back to Malon? That comes later. But, I don't know. I for some reason I thought it would be a good idea, I guess, at the time, and when I look back at it, it held up pretty well. I thought it was pretty funny, in theory, so, so yeah, they managed to sneak into the castle this way. And Talon and Ingo, they're supposed to be Mario and Luigi, aren't they? Like, I'm pretty sure, like, even the way he's sleeping there, if you remember if you idle too long in Super Mario 64, that Mario lays down in that exact position and I think has the same snoring sound effect. So I'm pretty sure he's supposed to be a little bit of a parody of Mario there. So yeah, I've caught up in my explanation with where I am in the game here, so that means I'm gonna have to skip over a little bit. What else can I talk about? I guess I can talk about the personalities of the characters. Talked about Link, you kind of know who he is, obviously, and the two brothers are pretty much as they appear. They're not real deep characters. They kind of get deepened later when their role changes in the future, but when we first meet them here, they're just kind of, one twin is much like the other twin, and they pick on each other, and they're more trouble than they're worth hanging around, to have around, that kind of thing. But Malon's personality is actually very, very perky and not pushy. Here's what makes her different from Zelda. Zelda is actually not perky. She's very calm and collected and sure of herself, but she's pushy. And Malon is more girlish and more like, oh, Link's cute boy kind of thing. And I know they're little, but it's not in that way, perverts. But she likes Link. And also, there's going to be a jump here, in the footage here. Okay, see that jump? There was a glitch in my ROM for some reason where when I first entered the castle, the guards, the two guards that stand right at the entrance there and catch you and throw you out after you meet Princess Zelda every time, they were there. And I was like, I haven't met Zelda yet. I don't have all the spiritual stones. Why are these guys blocking me from going to... It was so frustrating. So I don't remember how I fixed it. I think I just went in and out for a couple times and, like, started the game over and stuff like that. And eventually they disappeared. But, whatever, that was weird. So, Melon's personality, she's very hyperactive, she's very girly, she's, full of bouncy, useful energy, but she's, but she's not pushy and rude. She's probably the least assertive out of the many women that Link meets. Has anyone else noticed that Ocarina of Time is full of women? Like, particularly the sages. Like, the sages, except for Rauru and Darunia, are all girls, and we know what Ruto's like. So Malon is actually the most calm and feminine of them, but there aren't really any submissive girls in the Legend of Zelda series. I mean, there aren't at all. I don't think there were even in the games. So in their personalities developed, I don't have any submissive ladies. Which is fine. I mean, you don't need submissive ladies, but I did feel bad because I didn't want any of their personalities. There's so many girls, and you can't cut out a character. They're all kind of valuable, especially in a trilogy. So I didn't want them to be the same, but Malon's the more homely, feminine kind of one. Or she will be when she grows up, at the moment when she's 9 or 10, she's all energy. So that's pretty much all there is to Malon when she's little. She's cute, and she's welcoming and kind to Link, when he's a little bit confused and lost and, weirded out by the outside world. So that's pretty much the role she plays. I didn't read far enough to tell you whether she comes back in the ranch. She's like, you should visit the ranch or whatever, and like I said, he does get a chance to return that chicken, but I don't remember that he visits the ranch as a young boy. I'm gonna go ahead and guess that he doesn't. When he returns the chicken, he meets Ingo. But like I said, I don't know if it's at the ranch or not or whatever. It's been a while. I couldn't tell you. But here he is sneaking into the courtyard to see Zelda. These are the dumbest guards ever. I remember this. Okay, watch this. This is really wicked. I actually get past this guy. Yeah, I'm talking about the game, remarkably. I barely get past this guy, because this one guy in the back kept walking. Yeah, he walked pretty fast, and I was like, oh crap, he's gonna see me sneak. Look at that! I snuck right past him. I bet that was like just barely outside his little scope of what he could see. Okay, so this scene. In the screenplay, it's pretty much the same. I mean, not dialogue-wise, not what happens and everything, but as far as how he finds her in the courtyard and what he does. Okay, why does this guy throw a bomb at you? Don't throw explosives at little kids, especially in the courtyard where the princess is. What a douchebag. But anywho, so I forgot what I was gonna say. But yeah, yeah, it's plotted pretty much exactly like you see here. Or he just kind of sees her there, and he's like, is it the princess or whatever? And he sneaks up behind her and taps her, and he gets the most like not unroyal, unregal reaction from her. She just was like, I'm in trouble. She's spying, and she's not supposed to do that. And she swirls around, and she sees this guy, and then she kind of gets all her. I don't want to say arrogant, but like arrogant implies that you really think you're better than somebody. She's not arrogant. She's just inherently acts that way because she's so self-assured. So she's not intentionally looking down on Link. She just acts like she's better than him naturally. I guess I don't know. It's part of being raised as royalty. So she's not mean-spirited. She just acts that way. But the point is, and I don't know if this was intentional in the game, it probably wasn't. I think the idea in the game was just a big reveal of her face, but what I wanted to do was, when she whirls around like that, it's revealing for her first appearance that she's not as confident or she's not as mature as she appears to be immediately after that. Like, she's still young, and she has weaknesses, and she can be kind of, she's not necessarily doing the right thing all the time. In fact, those of you that played this entire game, you know that this entire plot she has to open up the Sacred Realm and get to the Triforce before Ganondorf does is a huge mistake. Like, he probably either wouldn't have gotten in there, or they could have found another way to stop him. What she does is a terrible idea, and she pays for it, and I think she knows she pays for it. She says it's like all her fault, even in the game. Whatever, tangent. So yeah, as for what they talk about, it's not the same pretty much at all as this. For one thing, I thought her dream was a little bit literal and hokey, and I was like, oh, well, I think I wrote it out, and it was like a beam of light, and it turns into a kid wearing green holding this specific stone. And I'm like, No, not that literal. So I changed the idea that she has prophetic dreams, and that's important. But it's not necessarily important what she dreamed, just that she's instantly like, oh my gosh, you have this stone. Well, that's great. She knows where the stone goes. She